Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and I want to welcome Brian Mcfadden back to the show. Brian is back, and we are going to talk Peter Wolf. In fact, we're going to talk about the Peter Wolf album from 1984, Lights Out. Peter Wolf was a member of Jay Giles' band, went solo, and, well, this is his first solo record. So we're going to take a look at it, so let's get started.
He's in his basement, and he's worldwide. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Brian Mcfadden to the show. Tonight we have something a little bit different. This is one of those artists who, well, they have quite a catalog. They went solo in 1984, Brian, is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
But no one really talks about his solo career. In fact, no one really talks about the band that he was in. We're going to talk about Peter Wolf, who was the lead singer for the Jay Giles band, all the way up from what? The first time came, what, 72, 71? All the way up. Yeah, but I mean, the first record came out what? Help me.
1970.
1970. Holy crap.
Yep.
And they had the hits, Love Stinks. Everybody's heard those songs. Well, maybe not so much. I'm not sure how much people talk about that anymore. But he did go solo, and he started putting out records. So we're going to talk about that first solo album from 1984, which is Peter Wolf, Lights Out. Now, this is, I would have to say, Brian, that this is kind of obscure at this point. No one's talking about Peter Wolf. Probably no one's talking about Lights Out. In fact, right. I will say this. I have this on vinyl, but then I've got the CD. Now, the CD is extremely rare. This is the EMI American pressing of it.
Okay.
And it's a cutout. I've never not seen one that wasn't a cutout. I don't understand what went on here, but this record, you can't find it, and it's expensive. But I do have one, but not many other people do. No one's probably ever seen it. No. I have seen photos of the Japanese pressing, but this, let me just double check. This is pressed in the USA, but the EMI America version you never see. But we're going to talk about this record. So, Brian, let's throw it over to you. What's your whole thoughts? You're in Boston, right? Where are you?
I'm from Boston. But
okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas, but yeah, I'm from Boston.
You're from Boston, but I mean, right. So Peter Wolf, Jay Giles band, everybody knows they were big in that area.
Yep.
I mean, they're like, what should we say? Institution.
Yes.
But
they're old school party music. And they're old school, like college party music.
Mm-hmm.
But when you catch them in the 80s, they changed their sound. But you can still hear them on the classic rock stations, which still kept up the energy and the flavor every time you heard him, because it was on the radio a lot. He used to Peter Wolf used to be a DJ for WBCN, and that's in the 70s. And he was playing a lot of Motown and stuff. He did like 2 a.m. till 5 or 6 in the morning, and that was his spot. So every time you hear him rhyming and jiving and rapping on, in between songs, especially when he's doing it live, he's just doing his radio DJ voice. He's doing the woogly googly with the great green tree.
Well, he like Blow Your Face Out and all those live records. Right. I mean, that's what he's doing in between. But that's what's exactly captivating.
How he sounded on the radio, doing his shtick, as he does when he's on interacting with the crowd. That's why people they totally identify with.
Mm-hmm.
They totally identify with his energy. But what's good too is he's big into the soul, gospel, even Baptist like church gospel, and jazz and blues. So everything about him just oozes rock and roll. B.B. King, Muddy Waters, to James Brown. I can't find an interview where he's not, bowing down to James Brown every single episode. So that's pretty impactful, considering that he was born in 1946 and this is 1956. So that and Chubby Checker and Muddy,
Well, he was a kid. It had a lot of influence, probably.
Yeah. Hold on, in Boston, the Museum School of Art, and when he showed up, he went on a scholarship. So when he showed up, I think it was raining and it was crappy. I don't even think he had a place to stay. He was just kind of kicking around, waiting for something to happen for 3 days. He ended up running into David Lynch, who offered him a place as a roommate. So David Lynch invited him in, and they were roommates for a while because he was going to some film school trying to figure out how to be a film director. And eventually he ended up getting kicked out because he couldn't pay rent. But they were good friends.
I've read that somewhere, and I thought, David Lynch. That's early David Lynch,
Yep. Yeah.
But all right, cool. I love it. But he went solo in 84. Now, no one's really talking about his solo career, but his first record was Lights Out and was released in July of 1984 on EMI America. And here it is, like I was saying before. Great record. It is a product of its time. I will leave it there. In the US, it got up to 24 on the Billboard chart. Australia got up to 94. Sweden got up to 17. Didn't do much else anywhere else. But this record was his most successful record. Come As You Are, that came out in 87, only got up to 53. But he still seemed to sell records in Sweden, for God's sakes. And Up to No Good, that was his album from 1990 on MCA, only got up to 111. But this was his most successful record.
Yep. 55,000 copies sold.
Yeah. How do you look at this record compared to the Jay Giles Band? I mean, if you look at the end of the Jay Giles Band with Peter Wolf, we're talking, Love Stinks, Flamethrower, all that stuff. How do you think that the Lights Out album compares to what came before?
I think it's pretty solid because it kicks off with the Lights Out on the first side. And the first side is actually kind of heavy loaded on the first side. But if you want to watch Come As You Are, or I'm sorry, listen to Come As You Are, that's the last song on the second side. So again, I'm talking about the replayability flippy flip, right? If you're not skipping songs, it starts off strong and it ends strong, and it makes you want to listen to it again. There's not too much filler because there's a lot of Motown gospel and blues spread throughout the album. What I find different about the album compared to Jay Giles and the stuff that I identify with growing up, electronic drums and a whole lot of keyboards and MIDI, and that's all right for the time. It's a very dated album. I enjoy it. I think the drummer's very good at whoever the programmer is, but
I don't know. Brian, I don't know. I'm not sure if there's a real drummer on here or not. Let me look.
I don't think there is. Not through any song. I've listened to it. I don't think there's real drums on this. Just, Jay Giles is a whole different feel.
I think it's all drum machine.
With that, right. And, well, as he got older with his solo stuff, right, his solo albums, like the newer one that came out in 2019, he's with Lynn Bale. They do a lot of acoustic, like Sheryl Crow kind of style, which I find really good. Not to say hippie or anything, but a little more acoustic and I don't know,
rootsy, more rootsy. Would you say?
Yeah,
I think that's fair. But I mean, if you look at this record, oh my God, they've had
a lot of jazz on it. There's a lot of jazz, a lot of blues with his newer stuff.
But on this record.
But
On Lights Out,
this
you've got
one was
Adrian
the
Belew playing
electronica.
guitar. Elliot Easton's playing guitar on it. You have Mick Jagger doing background vocals on the track Pretty Lady. Will Lee's playing bass, doing background vocals. And if you know Will Lee, he was the bass player on David Letterman's show. Elliot Randall, who played on a lot of Steely Dan records, plays guitar. G.E. Smith, who
He's amazing.
played guitar with Bowie and the Hall & Oates band. He's
He's
all
played with
over.
everybody.
Yeah, Ed
Yeah.
Stasium, who does a lot of production. In fact, Ed was the engineer on this record. So if anybody knows Ed Stasium, he produced a lot of the Smithereens records. God,
I love
I think
Snoopy.
he did
I've seen them a
Ramones,
couple
I
times.
believe. He's done a lot of different people, but he's just an engineer. This record was produced by Peter Wolf and Michael Johnson. I don't know who Michael Johnson is, but he's on it nevertheless. I mean, when I listen to this record, I do find it's not that far off from Freeze Frame, or it's kind of a
Yeah.
continuation on where Jay Giles had left off. That's
It's
the way I
captured
kind of
in a
look at it.
moment in time. Like, you know what I mean? Like you stick it in plastic and you put it in the shelf.
Because if you think about those Jay Giles albums, there's a whole band playing on here on those records. But this record, well, like I said, it's July of 1984, kids. You know, everybody's getting into keyboards, everybody's getting into drum machines, so this fits right in. But how do you feel, Brian? How do you feel about the songwriting on here and the track selection? And I mean, if you can overlook the production, I would say that the production is what
I think it's okay.
hurts this record.
I don't think it's that bad. I think it's overly poppy. Like if it was Britney Spears in 1984, it's that kind of bubblegum pop.
Oh, goodness gracious, that's extreme.
Yeah, it is a little bit, but at least she's got some groove, and you know what I mean.
Okay, well, Peter Wolf has groove, for crying out loud, Brian. Don't be a hater, Brian. Don't be a hater.
I'm not a hater. I like this album. I picked the subject, but Lights Out is solid, and then Need You Tonight is solid, and then Ooh-ee. I can't read my writing. It's terrible.
Okay. Ooh-ee Dipply Bop, which catchy. It's catchy. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But it's very commercial.
It's the keyboard again coming back to creep up on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a like old radio homage with that Gloomy Sunday song.
Mm-hmm.
He's singing through like the really old like Elvis, you know what I mean, microphone.
Those old
like
silver microphones.
Yeah,
it's like one of those you know what it is, Brian? It's like one of those microphones that the harp players use.
Yeah, it just sounds like old timey radio. And then play Baby Please Don't Go, just another pop song. So you got a lot of this Motown mixed in with jazz, blues. You got even the drums are kind of they're off the pocket, because he's got stuff that's calypso that goes off like in his later album. Like really different, like a Jimmy Buffett style acoustic guitar and stuff. But this album is the only one that stands out as 1984 out of everything in this catalog.
So you don't think? Do you think this? Well, let's throw, like, if you look at "Come as You Are," which came out in '87. Do you think that "Come as You Are" fares better than
that's real drums on that one?
Okay, but do you think that probably fares better as a representation?
Oh, right. And I think that was the third single released, but that came out like 2 weeks after the first one did. So he had a couple different videos going on at different times, so he wasn't getting burnt out on the one. You know, they flipped it up that way. And I do remember seeing "I Need You Tonight." I remember seeing that. And even VH1, when they started getting all the MTV rights, when they were starting, they started playing like old blocks of like these old '80s stuff. It was cool to watch. There'd be like Freya. Freya would be in there, something going on, and
Hmm.
then they would play that, or they play some Peter Wolf. Then you got some Lou Graham, all over.
Well, that Frida's song was something that's produced by Phil Collins. That's a killer track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I did a
I'm just
short.
I'm
I
trying
did a
I'm trying to put
short.
it
I did a short with that,
in the
but
yeah,
that was big. But it had that
yeah.
whole pill. Well, we're going off on a tangent, but that
No,
had that whole Phil Collins, that
it's the
gated drum sound.
it's the style at the time of yeah, right,
Right.
right. That's the only reason I brought it up because that's what was going on in '84.
Do you think that this record on Lights Out, do you think it takes away from,
No, nope.
you don't think
I
that
think it
the,
makes the dance party. He's always been a dance, high energy. You know what I mean? Like rock and roll dance. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
even Motown dance. You get up off your seat, go move. I think it's. I understand what he was trying to do with the album, and I
Mhm.
understand what a lot of other bands were doing that were having way more success with just one song. You know what I mean? Not a whole
Right.
album. He
Mhm.
had, in my opinion, 4 hits off of this. I think it's dated. I don't think the production is the best, but I don't think it's bad for what it is at the time. But
Well,
he's
if you
got his
listen to
jazz
Ode
blues.
O.E. Diddy Bop, then that's all you need to know.
Right.
Um,
He loves his blues, man. And I'm trying to always, I can pick out like whatever we grew up on during that time, he
mhm.
grew up on during that time. And you put on any J Gals album, or you can put on any of his solo stuff, and you're going to get all these influences. ELO, you're going to get even some Jeff Beck with some of the stuff they do. Um, Calypso, uh, like blues shuffle, and you got like that old Galleywagon,
Mhm.
old school saloon country music kind of stuff.
Right.
He's all over the place.
Well, like I said, there's a lot of different artists on here.
Oh, yeah.
They got up to US Billboard 200 at 24. I don't know how long it was on the charts, but the fact that you can never find any of these CDs anymore,
Yeah.
I just find it,
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm going to have to start keeping an eye out.
oh,
I
you'll
have
never
everything
see it.
downloaded.
This is
Yeah,
the
I have
story
everything
with this.
downloaded.
This is the story. I was at Half
Yeah.
Price Books in Columbus, and I'm going through the bins. Of course, I'm always looking for weirdness and stuff that I could turn around.
Yeah.
But then I saw Peter Wolf's Lights Out for $5.99, and I went,
Yeah. I paid $10 for that. I paid $15 for that just to have it.
well, it
Just to have it.
on Discogs and eBay, this is like a $70 CD.
Yeah, I know. I saw that when I was going through. Like, when I was
But I couldn't
doing
believe
more
that I
research.
found it, and I went, well, I probably should get it. I do remember back in the day, but this was a cutout. This was a cutout. I remember
Yeah.
as Come As You Are back in the day too, when that came out. What was that, 87? Most of the copies you saw of that were
I have everything now.
cutouts. And
Yep.
I that was one of those CDs you used to see all the time, Brian. You'd see them all the time in the cutout bins. Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah, I
Now,
remember.
now
Yep.
you never see it at all. It's like it disappeared.
I
Well,
think
if you're gonna turn on somebody to Peter Wolf, where would you start?
I would go later in the catalog and have them go back and check and what I
So
mean,
Lights
compare
Out isn't something you'd
decade to
start out with.
decade. I like Cure for Loneliness, and he's holding like it's a red cover. I think he's
Mhm.
smoking a cigarette, and he's holding a stack of records and 45s. I would start with that, and there's a lot of good stuff on it as far as blues and a lot of country twang sound, but it's acoustic country,
Mhm.
It's not that so much rockabilly, but
But that's pretty late. That was on Concord in 2016. That was the last record he put out.
yep, yep,
But I'm just saying we're kind of going off track, but that's fine. Who cares? The album got a score of 76 out of 100 on Metacritic. So people
it, it's
people
good.
like
There's
it.
like 6 good songs out of 10 I'm sorry, 12. 6 good songs out of 10. So half the album is worth checking out. You know
Well,
what I
he
mean?
does a version of Love Stinks with Seth Justman on here.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he goes back to a lot of stuff. And then I think he goes back to the Sanctuary album, Jay
Mm-hmm.
Giles covers from that.
What's that, 76 or somewhere around there?
And I think he does a couple from Bloodshot off of that too.
But for the most part, that record that you're recommending got 3.5 to 4 star reviews by most things. So
Midnight Souvenirs was another one that's a good one to start with. It's a short album. It's really short, but it's got a lot of blues and piano on it and organ. You know, it's a decent one. I like Lights Out. I like that album a lot, but that's not in the top 5.
oh crap,
What
Brian.
I would
Holy
grab
crap.
first.
We're doing a show on Lights Out.
I know.
Yeah, but
Is
it
it?
still gets almost a
Still a good
5 star
album.
review.
Yep. It's a great album. Like I said, there's 4 songs off it that I think are very solid, and I love it. And like I said, it starts solid, it ends solid, and it's replayable. You know, it's a background clean your house kind of record.
I would say if you can get over the production of it. But if you think about it, okay, let's say this. If you're transplanted back to 1984, this record would fit right in. And I think it probably would have fared better within the context of when it was released. You look at it now, it seems like a curiosity, something that you're going, whoa, listen to that. It like we said, it's very 80s sounding. Now, either you like that or you don't like it. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. If you can get back the production of it, if you can get past that production, I think there's probably a lot here. I think there's probably a lot of rewards here.
I was going to say, there's no remaster that's going to make that sound.
No, it's never going to come out as a remaster. It's been forgotten. And if anybody follows this channel, kids, we're always covering stuff that people don't talk about. And I would say Peter Wolf Lights Out was one of those records. And I'm not trying to dog it by any means, you know.
No, the videos are fun. But all the videos are, the whole album's fun. It's just fun. Backyard barbecue, you know, background noise. It's really good. Play something. You might have people ask you, what is this? Who is this? What is this? Or, hey, I remember that. There's always one of those.
Maybe if they're old enough, they'll remember it, Brian.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But I'm thinking if you're looking into Peter Wolf, me personally, I'm going to give my thoughts. Brian thinks you might want to start out with the later catalog. I think if you're getting into Peter Wolf, I would totally go with the Jay Giles Band catalog to start out. Get your feet wet. Dip your toe in the pool. If you like what you hear with Jay Giles Band, especially Freeze Frame and Love Stinks, that later EMI stuff, I think this is probably a good transition from that to Peter Wolf's solo career. That's how I look at it. Because think about it, those other records were like early 80, 81. Things hadn't really progressed yet. Think about it, the Fairlight sampler, you know, that hadn't really happened yet. So I think if you like Freeze Frame or Love Stinks, you'll probably like this. You'll like Lights Out. It's kind of a continuation, though it's a bit more extreme. That's all I think. And I will have to agree with Brian. I think if you want something that's more rootsy, less gimmicky, more less poppy. But think about it. Peter Wolf, 1984, he breaks off from Jay Giles Band. What do you think EMI is going to say to him? Well, Peter, we need a hit.
Yeah. They want their pop. And he went and totally gave it to him as opposed to leaving a blues orientated band, jazz, blues.
But think about it. But Brian, think about it. Freeze Frame and Love Stinks. They totally broke away from what they really
Oh,
had
they did.
did. They turned
Right.
into
They
more of a pop
commercialized
band.
themselves. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't have any problem with those albums at all.
No, it paid off good. Kiss on the
Paid
Wall is a
off
great
good.
album.
Everybody has to make a living. So
Right.
with Peter on Lights Out, Peter Wolf's basically just continuing on, you know.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
But I would have to agree with you.
But he got neutered a little bit.
On this record, how do you figure?
Yeah, I think so. He got I don't know. I think the chemistry was different. And I think that's what made it a success, really, as a apart from Jay Giles. I think it made it a success because it didn't sound like Party Jay Giles.
It did not.
No. It was
But
like a
do you agree that it's
Billy
kind of like a
Hawkins.
departure? I mean, it's kind of a continuation of Freeze Frame and Love Stinks to some degree. I mean, think about it. You get to 84, it's going to sound a bit different, but it's still that kind of formula.
Yeah.
Flamethrower, all those songs, kind of think, yeah, you know. You don't have Magic Dick with the harp.
Yeah, but again, everything's keyboard heavy. Everything's keyboard and blues. So if you're into that, this is a good pickup. It doesn't matter which album.
And you know what, Brian? I have no idea if this thing is streaming everywhere. I don't even know if you can get it anywhere.
I haven't looked.
Yeah. I mean, when you go out to look through record stores, you ever see it at all anymore?
I don't see it in record stores. And I got my 3 records here, I got my 3.
So those Jay Giles albums, I'm going to assume you can recommend those.
I would go with Live and Blow Your Face Off. And it's kind of like having Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2. Really, those are the only 2 albums you need. And you have everything. The greatest hits of everything live.
By you saying that with Kiss, you're going to make a lot of people's head explode because the Kiss fans think they need everything.
No, I'm just saying, sometimes you don't need every album. Sometimes you only need 2.
So with Jay Giles, just get the 2 live albums and you should be good. Wayne, for the most part.
It covers every single album. Well, actually, there's another one too. I think it's called Soundtracks. There's 3 live albums. So they did like 3 records, did a live album, 3 more records, did another live album. And,
yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah. Well, they play all the same songs off of those first 7 records. But I think they only have 11. And I think 3 of those are live albums, greatest hits. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we've changed anyone's mind, but I mean, if you like 1984, you like the production of 1984, I think give this one a chance if you can even find it. If not, just go get Freeze Frame or Love Stinks from Jay Giles Band, and that might be enough for you. But I don't know. I think the Peter Wolf catalog is worth looking into, and I think, Brian and I were talking about this before, and instead of there's so much in his solo catalog, so we're just going to try to expand on that. Talk about some more Peter Wolf albums that maybe you want to check out because it's just too much to cover in the amount of time that we have. But what else do I want to say? Yeah, July of 84 recorded Synchro Sound, the studio of the Cars.
Yeah, the Cars.
It's 41 minutes and 10 seconds. It's not bloated, kids. You can get through it. But I think, I don't know. Let's say this, Brian. If you're going to rate this out of 10, what would you give it?
The songs I like on it are really strong, and I really like the songs. Like, I'll be listening to them 10 years from now. You know what I mean?
That's a pretty good.
I'll give it a 7.
7.
Strong 7.
But you would probably give more of the later catalog even a higher review, correct?
Yeah, right. I'm saving those.
Gotcha. Well, we'll get there. Cool.
I like
excellent.
live drum. I'm a live drum guy.
I know, but this is a product of its time.
I like riffs. Where's the riffs?
And you give this a 7 out of 10, and I'm gonna. What would I give it?
It's better than a 5, and you know it.
If you look at this record, find it in the cheapy bin, find it used, whatever. I think there's a lot here. I don't think that you can look at it now and go, oh my God, that's dated. But if you put it in perspective in 1984 and you look at it, it fits right in. You can't predict the future, but we have learned with music, you can't do gimmicky stuff. You got to use real instruments. You've got to use, Hammond organ, all those things that are tested and true in order for something to age. This is one of those records where it is a product of its time. But if you can get over it, the songwriting is good. I don't want to say the production's bad, but the recording's good.
Lyrics are good.
Yeah, the lyrics are good. You can get a lot out of it.
Fun.
So I'd give it a 7. It's okay, but we'll look at those
the
other.
Hammond B3 comes up later in the other albums coming up. That was a good rocker, and that went up against like Heart, These Dreams, and it went up against Def Leppard. It went up against all that stuff, and people were still buying the album. Can't say it's a.
But it still ended up in the cutout bin. It never sold enough.
Hey, 55,000 albums. I wish I could sell one.
Okay, Brian, thanks for coming on. I appreciate the discussion. It's always fun to talk music with Brian. He loves so many things, and I'm merely just a student. Brian is like the guru. So without any further ado, we'll just end this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.